Right, part 3 for week three's tutorial. We've created a new application. We have created some pages in that and some transitions between them. Obviously, our application needs more than just pages. We need to be able to have controls that we can put data on. So in this third part, we're going to look at putting some data into one of the pages. In particular, to begin with, we're going to look at how we might represent list data, and in terms of the problem that we're using as a basis for investigating mobile applications, this idea of a list of things, nurses or services, resources, is quite common. HTML obviously provides the unordered list element UL, and within that LI for list item. It's particularly useful because what it says is here's a list of things, but I'm not going to tell you anything about the styling of that list or the content. So it might be a list of individual strings, or it might be a list which contains an icon or an image, followed by a heading text, followed by some paragraph text, followed by some links. So it can be a list of either atomic text or well-structured subsections themselves that have got quite rich layout. So we're going to take advantage of the HTML unordered list element here, and what I've suggested is if you just copy this div section that I've put into the document. Basically, it's the same form as before. We have a page that has an ID of home, and then we've got a div for the header that just says home, and then we've got a div for the content which contains this section here, and this section has a heading that says main menu, and then it says here's an unordered list and here's some list items. So we're creating a list that's got 3 books in it, basically a HTML book and a J2EE book. So I'm just going to copy that section, and I'm going to go over to my application here, and I'm going to gedit index. So what I'll do is I'll just replace the div that we put in last time. So we had these 2 pages last time, we were navigating between them. I'm just going to replace that whole section. Now this list that we've got has list items, and each list item is a HTML anchor, an A tag that has a heading in it and some paragraph text. I've put a comment in that said this is the sort of place you might put an image. So if you wanted to have images for these books, this is where you put it. But I want to keep it simple for now. We'll go back to our window and we'll reload it. And you can see what we've got now is this home button again. So this is our heading item, and we've got main menu, which is the text at the top of our page, and then we've got our list with 3 items. Now these are anchors, A tags, but their href was hash, which means the document. So when I click on these, basically they're taking me back to this page. So in part 3 we're looking at using HTML elements to mark things up. Now this should actually have an arrow on it because it's a link, and it's a small bug in PhoneGap in the particular version I've got here that's not showing them. Once you deploy it on a phone, these will be filled in with little right arrows. So the next part 3, is where you basically take a page and then you add this unordered list element, and then you start to add some list items, and you might like to play with changing the content of these things, adding some extra list items, changing the layout. You might add an image, you might add some paragraph text. So part 3 is really trivial. Change your window so that it's got this ordered list element in it, and then play with the HTML inside that and see what sorts of effects you can get. If you wanted to try linking to alternate pages, as we did in part 2, so you could set up a second window so that when you click on one of these hrefs it takes you to that second page, by all means have a go at that. We're going to look at that in some more detail over the next 2 parts. So this part is relatively straightforward. Replace the page with this block and then play with it, mess around with it, do whatever you like with it. You might like to commit it then if you want to, so you've got a record of what you've done. So that's nice and easy. I'll see you in a moment.